Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Bertrand Rothen, a freelance product manager and consultant with 11 plus years of experience, a master of science in information systems, who also played drums in front of 20,000 audience, playing in a Greek opening band at the Black Sabbath concert. So, welcome, Bertrand.
Thanks for having me, Yuri. Excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, since it's freelance sucks, since it's about challenges, so what is the most challenging part for you of being a freelancer?
For myself, I would probably say, actually recently with the recession having hit, is it can weigh on your self-confidence that if there are areas or periods of basically drought of business where you do start questioning your decisions and you start questioning the space that you're in, and that can be quite a test for your personality. I feel like, especially looking back, I mean, I've had a few of those. I'm pretty sure every freelancer goes through these periodically. But if you look back, it's mostly, of course, wow, that was wild. If you're in a better place now, hopefully you are out there. Um, but I do feel like every time you're in the middle of that, you do think like, this sucks. Like, it would be nice to have a cushy employed job and just kind of know that you're going to be there for a while. But then again, also, you have to remember that sometimes, or more oftentimes actually, that's not the case for employees either. They also get fired, and when they get fired, it's much more devastating for them than freelancers that are out of a contract or, not contracted right now and don't have any leads. So I wouldn't even be able to compare that too much by this point. But yeah, if I have to say, like, the biggest challenge is this situation. If you're right in the middle of, you have no leads, you're always hearing the economy is shit right now and nothing's happening. There's no work out there, and you're just thinking, oh, when is this going to change? And you have no idea because it's about some crazy people high up having wars in the world and whatever. And you're like, I'm completely dependent on that. I have little leverage, and that starts weighing on your self-confidence.
I even heard about this news portal, Good News, where you can read only good news and there are no bad news. So I feel like sometimes it's good from time to time to have such portals because, yeah, I totally agree with you. All we hear is like, everything's going down. We don't know what to do. People are doomed. And then,
People are dramatic. That's why.
yeah, and then like you see others people have jobs, have projects, have businesses, and like eh, like other from another planet, maybe not. So it's something about us. Yeah, and I totally hear you here. Like always having this like, am I good enough? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? Yeah. So still out of that, what is the most time-consuming thing you must deal with as a freelancer?
Oh, definitely bookkeeping. Big fan. Like, collecting your invoices and like sending them off to your bookkeeping office or tax advisor or something. That is definitely the biggest thing. And I know that there are a lot of companies that are doing, varying qualities of jobs and digitizing that and making it easier for people. But overall, it's never going to be, first of all, it's never going to be easier than the German bureaucratic system will allow it to be. And then also, it's just always going to be, you're always going to have to hand in invoices of stuff you bought or paid for. That's never going to go away. So no matter if you have it in an app or whatever, it's always just going to be a nuisance. But I understand why you have to do it. Still, I always, at the end of the month, I'm always like, okay, let's see when I can block away a few hours to do my invoices.
Yeah, and I feel like there is no way to automate it, but for most of countries.
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely ways to make it easier, but it's never going to be. I feel like there might be a point, and probably all the people in Estonia and stuff they know, like where how it can be in a way that it's pleasantly easy or easy enough that you're not as negative about it as people are in Germany. But yeah. I bet there's a couple of companies I would like to call you in this very moment and say like, hey, we can advertise for that, but please don't do it. Just, it's always going to
suck. I even want to have this conversation with some freelancers from Estonia. So I wonder what will be the most time-consuming thing for them.
Oh, it's got to be something else.
Totally.
It's got to be like how to use all the spare time that they have.
Yeah, such a good challenge to deal with.
Yeah,
but sometimes it's also maybe super hard. Yeah. So what is the most nerve-consuming thing for you?
Nerve-consuming. I almost feel like I also want to say invoice and bookkeeping. But I do think that's is probably for me, at least currently, is my mid to long-term outlook. Just because I do feel like all the freelancers know that when you go freelance, you basically, to at least a certain degree, you exit the classic career ladder, which is, for people in tech companies, is usually you start in associate level or junior, you go into mid-level, senior, and then director or head of, and then VP, and then all that kind of stuff. You basically exit that. And so the question is, where do you go from there? You can, of course, just kind of try to execute on being an individual contributor or an IC just the entire time, and just, build up, your skills and basically increase your value that way. But I feel like, especially with the fast-pacedness of tech, you're going to run into a bit of a corner at some point, unless you develop Java, which is just apparently never going to die. If you're a good Java developer, you're just going to always have work. But anyway, I am plotting, the question, or pondering the question: what am I going to do in the next, or like, what am I going to be doing in, let's say, 5 years? And that is definitely something that I feel like shouldn't come easily to me. That's fair. But the sheer amount of possibilities that I'm exploring is sometimes nerve-wracking. And it's, the challenge in itself can be, weighing on my nerves quite a bit.
What ways are you exploring for yourself?
I mean, there's, as I said, there's the possibility of, of maintaining this IC kind of, specialized IC level. There's, of course, the route that a lot of people have been taking, which is just full on education. So consulting, teaching, workshopping, all that kind of stuff. Where I have to be honest, I'm a bit ambivalent about, because, the big secret about me is don't tell anyone. I love product, but I don't particularly love product management. Of course, product management, I have some skills in it, which is why I even have jobs. And, I wouldn't say I hate it, but I am more in love with the products that, exist. That's what I'm obsessed about. And the management behind it is, to me, a means to achieve that. So it's more of a necessity than something that I'm not in love with the process as much as I am with the product. And there are definitely people who are in love with the process, and they're famous in the community, and they should be, and that's totally fair. And I love that as a different perspective. But to me, the question is, as an example, am I the best teacher? Am I the best person to be an authority on knowledge of management? Despite the fact that there's a lot of people out there who are, much better at it, at the pure aspect of management itself, and who are more obsessed about it. So I'm trying to kind of find my own angle to it in that sense. But then, of course, I also do have that degree in IT security that I also I'm obsessed about. So, and then of course, sometimes I do wake up in the middle of the night. What if I just learned Python? Or what if I just learned Swift? Like just do something, just do some coding here and there, or, kind of stuff. But then of course, technically I could also start an agency, as in like go into, what you at some point would consider recruiting. So, there's a lot of opportunities, right? There's a lot of possibilities. It's more about like, what do I want to invest in? And it's less about hedging bets at this point for me. It's more about trying to find something that really grips me and that will keep me up at night, just have me going. And so far, I haven't fully tapped into that yet.
And what about professional loneliness? Do you feel it from time to time?
Yeah. I mean, I fortunately have a good amount of, friends and peers. So, I don't get it. I don't get that too much. I feel like a lot of people tend to struggle with it. But I don't know. I do think that creeps up on freelancers, especially that are working in a very kind of isolated environment. So if they don't work with teams, if they have one client that just briefs them and they just sit for themselves, and for me, I have to admit, it's not too big of an issue.
Okay. So if your friend wanted to become a freelancer, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Definitely, first of all, examine yourself, as in your personality. Are you risk averse, or are you, open to risks? Because you have to be open to risks, otherwise you're not going to love it. Second of all, what's your business environment like? That also, of course, relates to the amount of risk you want to take. But a lot of people, and I've seen this in conversations the same way that people talk about being a digital nomad, that people have this fantasy idea about the positives of doing it, where they think, oh, freelancing sounds great, I would love to do that. But there is a reason why they're not doing it. And that reason can be, maybe something that they haven't just really evaluated. But for the most part, a lot of people love having that security of having a secure job, having a secure paycheck, not having to constantly concern themselves with where am I going to get jobs from, where am I going to get money from. And some people even don't like the fact that some months you'll make a lot of money because all your invoices get paid. And then another month, no invoices get paid. Or like, you fell sick, unfortunately, or you decided to just take some vacation, take a month off. And then all of a sudden that month's just like zero, right? And some people just hate that idea. Like if you tell them like, oh, but sometimes you're going to have some money coming in and sometimes you don't. And they're like, oh, that sounds terrible. I don't want that. I want the same amount of money every month into my bank account. And I want to have that as play money. I want to have the net amount and just be able to play with that. Play as in like pay rent, that kind of stuff. But I mean, what I'm getting at is basically, are you open to that risk that, that entire thing brings with it? What does your industry look like? And then also, I don't know, I heard this concept about internal and external locus of control, where basically it's how people approach basically their entire lives, as in do they rather look over into the control that they have over things themselves and what their contribution, their control over something is over any given thing, or do they look to what external factors may impact a certain situation or thing in your life? And while I don't want to say that it's one thing is universally better than the other, especially in a freelance context, you have to assume that internal locus of control, as in like you are looking at everything from a perspective of what can I contribute to this primarily, and anything that is outside of your control doesn't really concern you that much. You're just going to focus on what you can influence, because if you do it the other way around, you're not going to have a good time. You're just gonna find reasons, explaining why you're unsuccessful, but the main reason is because that's your blind spot. You're not paying attention to your own contribution. So those are things I feel like these three things people should really examine before they even consider going into it, because everyone who has been doing this for a while knows that there are great advantages to it, but also great disadvantages. And those disadvantages are not ephemeral, but they are very subjective, as in like you'll either take them as I'm willing to accept these, or you won't, and then you have another option.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a lot of conversation to have with yourself, to see it on your own, and
because you do everything yourself. That's the main thing. Like it's all you.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, you need
no one to blame, you know.
Yeah, because you just always then you are the person to blame. Like I mean, everything starts. You don't have to do everything yourself from start to end, and it's not only yourself that you get to pat on your back and everything. Like you need allies, you need friends, you need you need clients. Maybe you even need enemies. I don't know. But it starts with you. And that's the aspect, right? So if you can't even start with yourself, with assessing yourself, if you're even ready for it, then you just aren't, and that's your answer.
Totally. You know, Bertrand, I wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, if you were starting freelancing today, is there one thing you would have done differently?
Very good question. I don't think so, to be honest. I probably I might have focused more on, no, I don't think so. I think I did it, you know, all things considered, I did it the right way. I did it exactly how I wanted it to do it. I didn't take too much risk, but I also didn't take no risks at all. You know, I didn't do one of these things where I, you know, started freelancing on the side and then only a year later I fully went into it. I thought, oh, could have gotten to it earlier. I went in full-fledged, and you know, I guess, okay, so maybe one thing that I would do different is not start in the summer, because in the summer everyone's out of office, everyone's on vacation, and if you call all kinds of people like, hey, do you need like someone to support you and stuff, they'll all say, oh, yeah, there's this person who might be interested, but they're on like their 6-week summer vacation or something, they're on the beach, and they'll get back to you in like, you know, a month or so. And that was a bit of a thing where in hindsight I thought, well, that was not very smart, but because I did hand in my papers to the Finanzamt, or wait, not Fin, but Bürgeramt, one of these amts, I don't know. I handed in my stuff, I registered my business on the 1st of July. And that's in the height of, you know, just season of everyone in Germany being out of office. So I thought at the beginning, like, oh no, I'm not getting any jobs. What's wrong? And then there was nothing really wrong. It was just a bad time. And then, you know, towards the end of August, when people started getting back to office, it all went fine. But of course, so that's my big advice. You know, try to maybe do it in September, or like, you know, before May.
And I feel like Christmas time also not the best time to start it.
No. But you have to pay attention to these things. Like, I mean, and this was of course more valid before COVID, because during COVID it all, you know, went upside down. But before COVID, you know, it's just all fixed season stuff. Like you could almost, you know, tune things, you know, accordingly.
Yeah, totally. You know, Bertrand, thank you so much for sharing your challenges. I'm super happy to learn from you.
And thanks very much for having me. This is another fun conversation. Thanks for, you know, listening to all the stuff that I say.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.